Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Change What We Normalize podcast. What is this? Episode 7 of season 2. We're moving right along, man. We've had some incredible guests to kick the season off. Chris Johnson. We had my guy, Daryl McGregory. We had quite a few people who were incredible, man. And this next guest, falls right in the line with the excellence guests that we had so far. This is someone I consider a brother of mine, man. I met him years ago, and just his spirit, his wisdom, we just connected instantly, man. And this dude is incredibly talented. Like, I can't wait till y'all get to meet him. And when y'all really hear his story and really hear his insight and his wisdom, I promise you, you're going to want to follow this man right here. So next up on the Change What We Normalize podcast, we have my brother, my guy, Kev Decor. So make sure you tap in, stay tuned, grab your notebook. You're not going to want to miss anything on this episode. I promise you, y'all. So coming up next on the Change What We Normalize podcast, my brother, Kev Decor. Hey, my guy, what's going on?
Yo, man, thank you so much, A, for the intro, and B, for having me, bro. It's an honor, and the respect and the love is 100% mutual, bro. Thank you.
Nah, man, it's no problem, man. I've had you on my list for guests, and I was just really slacking on getting things done. But I'm glad that you answered the call and you said, yeah, I'm definitely down. Because I know you're a busy guy, man. But I'm glad that we connected, bro. Because you've been doing some incredible stuff, man. I just been watching you from afar, just kind of admiring, and just thinking back on conversations we had years ago. One in particular, at the vitamin shop in the parking lot when I was out there working, just like, just us dreaming, bro, just us dreaming. And you kind of speaking some things, man, and just to see how it's starting to play out for you is truly incredible, bro. But without further ado, I'm not going to take no more of your shine. Go ahead and just, for the people who don't know you, whoever you are, I don't know how my supporters don't know you, but y'all need to know this guy. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you, bro.
So I go by Kev Decor. I'm from the South Jersey area, so Atlantic County, Atlantic City, that whole area. Grew up there. When I hit 27, decided, you know what, LA is the move. Me and my girl, we came out here to LA. But basically, I'm a recording artist, musician, producer, audio engineer, all around creative. I work in video as well. I kind of consider myself a multimedia artist, but for sure, music is number one and is my main medium. And I've been making music for about 16 years now, since I was about 15. I'm 31 now. Professionally, at a high level, I'd say about 10 years or so. And on the journey, one day at a time, one brick at a time. And here we are.
One day at a time, one brick at, wow, it's crazy you just said that, right? Let me show you this. This is crazy because you literally just said that, and I keep sticky notes in my office. So I'm in my office right now. So if you would come in here, you see sticky notes everywhere of just quotes and things. But literally, I had this sticky note on my laptop.
One brick. Wow. See, man. See, come on. You can't make that up, bro.
Yeah, you can't make that up, bro. As soon as you said it, I was like, hold on, wait a minute. Wow. That's wild, bro. That's super wild.
There's a Will Smith quote. I saw this like 10-minute video on YouTube. And this was like, when I think back, I'm like, damn, like YouTube really came a long way, because I remember YouTube was just so early. It wasn't what it is now. But I saw this video. It's like a 10-minute video of just a montage of Will Smith interviews, like quotes of him in interviews and stuff. And in one part of the video, it's like almost like an interview where they're like going to his childhood home and stuff like that. So they go to where he grew up working with his dad, and his dad used to, like, I think cut cement bricks or something like that. And so his dad, he told this story of his dad telling him this lesson, him and his brother at the time, that it's like, you know, if you want to build a wall, like how do you build a big wall, basically? And he was asking Will Smith and his brother, and they're like, oh, you know, I don't know, like you make plans, whatever. Long story short, he's like, no, the way you do it is one brick at a time. Each day you lay a brick down as perfectly as a brick can be laid, and soon you will have a wall. And so for whatever reason, that always stood out to me and like just stuck in my head. And it's just like visually, it makes sense to me, you know, like you focus on one task, and you just do that to the maximum, like the best that you can do it. And then just rinse and repeat. And then soon enough, you have a catalog of music, you know, an art gallery, 20 books, you know, whatever it is, you know? So yeah, man, that always stood out to me. So I like that quote a lot. One brick at a time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I wonder why, before we really dive into things, why is that so challenging for us to get that one brick at a time, like concept? Like, is it the society we're in? Or do you feel like people are rushing you into your purpose? Is it social media? Is it, you know, just pressures all around?
I
Are
think
we
it's a
super
little bit,
ambitious? You know what I mean?
yeah, I think the times definitely have to do with it. Sometimes I think like, man, if I had started music and social media was as big of a force as it is now, definitely would have an impact somehow, some way in my early trajectory. Only because like early on, like you just didn't have anything to like check every 5 minutes, you know, and
Yeah.
that probably speaks to like your relationship with social media. But I think by and large, most people have the kind of relationship with social media where they keep in touch with family and friends. So naturally, you know, your quick escape is like, let me see if my boy hit me back. Oh, let me check what this person's doing. Oh, you know, Michael Jordan's on Instagram. Let me see what he's up to, because I kind of want to see
Right. Right.
what his eating regimen is like. You know, like those things kind of would have played a part. Not to say that it would have swayed me in a different direction, but I think that these days you just so focus on the wall and like that guy's wall and that girl's wall, and you're like, I gotta build this wall like tomorrow, you know, where like
That's
and
good.
you also get that FOMO, which is like you don't want to miss out because everybody's wall is popping right now, you know. So like you're like,
Everybody's wall.
you know, like I got to get this wall going, and you just like laying down bricks like as quick as you can. Where really, it's like, nah, chill. Like lay that brick, treat it with care as best as you possibly can, and just repeat that little process over and over and over and over. And next thing you know, you're gonna look back and be like, wow, like I really built the wall, you know?
Mm.
As opposed to, I think people approach it backwards where they're like, okay, I got to build this wall. Let me build the frame, you know, and just like throw everything at it. But
Right.
it's really just a big process of little processes, you know? So
So
I do think that
do you feel like
times,
you've always been like that, bro? Or is that something that you kind of developed?
um, I think I would say that I kind of always been like that because I never was really the kind of person that had a bunch of things, like unfinished things that I really wanted to see through. I kind of always like did one thing at a time and just really exhausted myself trying to get that thing right. And in my case, that was music. So like I would always kind of focus on just like, I gotta get this one song, you know, and I wouldn't move on to another song until I finished that one song. And I nailed the idea as close to my vision as I could. So it probably does have a little bit to do with like each person's like just personality as a whole. But you know, as you get older, you got to train yourself to be as effective as possible. So as you get older, whether that's in your personality or not, you got to understand that um, you know, nothing good comes from mass production. You know, it's like
Mm.
you really got to sit down and focus on making something as good as it can be, And over time, you'll get faster and you'll find out more ways to be efficient. But initially, you got to train yourself to be like, nah, I got to focus on just hitting my free throw all day today,
Right,
like,
right. Now that's good. Oh, bro, and I sent you the link too if you want to share it. I sent it to your
okay,
IG.
gotcha.
But while you're doing that, man, I'm gonna be honest. You years ago, like when we first kind of, hit it
Yeah,
off, I was inspired by, the work ethic, of course, because you were very consistent, but I was inspired more by the boldness. It was almost like you didn't fear failure.
yeah,
Because I
yeah,
remember there was a time where you were literally putting on your own shows and like your own tour. Like I remember what was the first one? I want to say it was in like somebody's like crib, like in the basement somewhere.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and this will play into later on in the episode when we get into like kind of like things that I live by. But I've always um it's like everything I've had to do has been out of necessity, like because
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do something, but there was no means of doing it. So I just kind of had to figure out a way to do it myself. And that definitely is ingrained in my personality. Like I've never really truly feared other people's judgment. And I am aware that that's kind of like it's kind of hard to come by because
Yeah, it's rare.
aside from the times that we're in where like
Right.
you're under a magnifying glass at all times and like you gotta like fit in and like you don't want to like look weird or whatever. Aside from that, um it's just like not you don't run into too many people that are just like, all right, like I don't really care what people think about me if I crash and burn because I tried something that was beyond my means or something like that. So early on with those shows, there was like no venues in South Jersey. There was like no venues. The venues that did exist didn't really do hip hop shows. The hip hop shows that did get put on, we were just not part of that community as far as like the inner circles that ran. So being like the young, I didn't have any resources, so I just kind of took it upon myself. It was like, you know what? If we ain't got a venue, like all we need is a space. And if
Right.
somebody's willing to lend their backyard or like their basement, we could kind of turn this into like a cool little thing where it's almost like an exclusive thing to be a part of and something different that people haven't really seen around here. So um yeah, that's kind of like where most of the things that I've been bold enough to do has been because I kind of got myself to an edge of a cliff where I'm like, okay, I'm either
Mm-hmm.
not gonna do this or I'm gonna like try and it's either gonna go left or it's gonna go right, So that's just how it's always
Yeah,
been.
that was special to me, man, because what I felt what you were doing, like while you were doing this thing that you really wanted to do, I feel like you gave so many people permission to do that thing that they
Mm,
wanted to do. Because I felt
yeah,
that same way in that room. That was prior to me writing books and all of that stuff.
yeah,
When that
yeah,
happened and
man.
like really doing what I'm doing, I was just like, yo, this dude is like so bold about it. Not only is he bold about it, he's going hard. Like he's in front of 20,000 right now. Like going super hard. Like it's
Yeah,
almost
yeah,
as if you see the crowd of people within this space, whether it's the bar situation, the
yeah,
basement, John, the other spot, but it's almost like your vision is seeing almost like a stadium of people, and
yeah,
that's
and
how
then
you're literally turning up. I'm like, how do you have that type of vision and foresight?
yeah, I mean, yeah, bro. That and literally, I've never heard anybody break it down like that. I've never even really thought about it like that, but that is how I always saw it because I always felt like 10 people could turn into 15.
Hmm.
15 could turn into 25. 25 could turn into 50. 50 could turn into 200. 200 could turn into 1,000 almost in no time. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I've always just kind of, I don't know, that's just kind of how I always looked at it. And in that time, I really, really did believe that I had music that was competitive in terms of what the market was offering to people that that were going and buying tickets by the thousands. So if I feel like, you know what, I could stand in a room with somebody like Big Sean and feel like I could hold my own weight creatively. So if I'm putting out music that I feel is just as good, and he's out here selling out, 3,000 people venues, that I'm buying a ticket to go see,
Right.
then I can do that. I just got to get it in front of more people. And to be honest with you, since that time period, 2017 to 2021, that's literally still my foundation and my direction. That's my North Star, is that I still feel that way. I still am working in that same capacity, but we're dealing with, there's levels to this. So once you get to newer levels, now there's different seven-headed dragons that you got to slay, so yeah.
Wow. I never even thought of it that way. Man,
Yeah.
that's incredible, bro. And like I said, it really inspires me. I had an initial question that I usually ask all my guests, but we just dove right in, honestly.
Yeah.
We dove right in and you hit that joint. Because I'm a firm believer, and I usually share this wherever I go, that your story is about you, but it's not for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's deep.
And I firmly believe that that's how we live our lives, in a way where it's going to tell a story that somebody's going to need one day, and it's going to bless them and really open up a door from them. And speaking of stories, bro, I think you were the one that introduced me to, it was either The Alchemist or The Four Agreements.
Yeah, probably both, to be honest.
It might have been both, bro. It might have been both.
Because there was a point in time where right after The Alchemist, I was looking for something that was like not the same thing, but equivalent in level of enlightenment, because that book really opened my eyes. So I was like, man, what else is out there? So I was asking people at the job that I had at the time, and he put me onto the Four Agreements. It's like older guy at a condominium in Ventnor. So he put me onto the Four Agreements. So suddenly, after I read the Four Agreements, I'm like putting everybody onto the Alchemist and the Four Agreements. Those were like my two go-tos. I was like their street team, man. Like, and still I still tell people like, "Hell, have you read the Alchemist?" Like, and I tell people when I talk about the book, like, "Yo, that book changed my life," because that same day, first of all, I'm not a reader really. Like, originally, I had never read the summer reading list in school, like never was into reading. And The Alchemist was the first book that I like really sat down and read. And I had heard about it. I had heard about it for years. Like, people like just in passing, I heard people talk about The Alchemist. But this guy told me about it. And it might have even been the same guy that told me about the Four Agreements. So he told me about it. So I picked it up, and during a work shift, as soon as I got in, because I was working like a front desk job, and I basically just chilled all day. So I basically read that whole book from start to finish. At the start of my shift to the end of my shift, I read the whole book, which was like incredible, because I was like, I don't even read like that. And I'm not even a fast reader. And honestly, the book is not thick, but for somebody like me, that's a thick book, So
Right.
So the fact that I read that book, I practically ate that book. And that same day, I decided I was going to put my 2 weeks in. So the next day, I came into work and I told my manager, like, hey, I'm putting in my 2 weeks. And that kicked off the real journey of like a song a week, and like using that time period also to like develop the ideas that I wanted to execute on, like the tour, and the basement shows and stuff like that. So that book kind of set me on the trajectory that kind of led me to where I'm at right now. So when I tell people about that book, I'm always like, man, this book changed my life, because who knows, I'd probably still be working. I don't think I would, but you never know. I could have still been working at that place,
So I have so many different directions I want to go with this, but I'm gonna reel it in. So first, I want to talk about, because that was definitely one of my questions, like that song a week thing, like that blew my mind when you were doing that.
Yeah.
That blew my mind when you were doing that on a regular. I'm like, how's this dude churning out all this creative like genius like this? it almost seems unreal. Like, when is he gonna like fizzle out? So I want to ask you about your. I'm always very interested in people's creative process, because everybody does create differently. Like the way I sit and create and I formulate ideas may be a lot different than the way that you do it. So for the audience, for the listeners, for those people who are up and coming artists who are looking for that inspiration and insight, what does your creative process look like? Because like I said, you were pumping these out faithfully, bro.
Yeah. So first, I'll get into what led to that, and then I'll kind of break that down. So basically, at that time, so I had dropped Love Being Broke, which was like a mixtape slash EP. Looking back, it was really an album, but I had spent like, and this kind of goes back into further stories back, but long story short, I had met somebody that wanted to manage me. I had already been working on a project, like an album or a mixtape, and he was like, "This is good, but let's start from scratch. Let's make something. You can make something way better." So we did. So I worked on this for like like 6-7 months, and then it turned into the whole politics thing, which is like, oh, know some people. Let's pitch it to some blogs. Let's get some publicity going around this. And I was all for that, and that actually went pretty well in terms of like, executing on those ideas and those game plans. However, I feel like a lot of the people that kind of were gonna support us and stuff like that on the other end, they kind of flaked a little bit. And so suddenly this project that I put literally my everything into, and I felt was like my really my best work to date at that time period. I just felt so let down that it just didn't get. It's not even like that. Maybe like it's one thing for it to get to people and the reception to not be like, this didn't really connect with people. But I feel like it didn't even get its proper shot because like it didn't even reach the eyes and ears that I felt it needed to, and not even like for me, for vanity reasons. I really felt like there was music there that could help people, so. And honestly, a lot of my core fan base over the years, whenever they, feel inspired to tell me like, oh, I've been listening to you for this long, they always reference back to that time period. So I know that the people that did come across that body of work, it really did impact them. And which even more to me is like, I really wish that, but everything has its proper time, and that's kind of like
Absolutely.
as you mature as a person and as an artist, you realize that you're not on your time, you're on God's time,
Right.
so when it's supposed to happen, when it's the right time, that's when it's gonna happen. But anyway, going back to that, after that happened, I kind of took like 3 or 4 months where I was just like emotionally drained and just like devastated that I couldn't believe I just put all this work into something that didn't really see the light of day. So I went to work because by nature, I'm just like a research junkie type of person. I love to reverse engineer how things work and just try to figure things out, So I went, Google, YouTube, whatever, trying to figure out like, okay, what's my next move? Because I feel like if I sit down and try to formulate another body of work for another half a year to 3/4 of a year, I'm gonna lose all the momentum that I just got from putting this
Right.
out. And it just didn't seem like a logical way of like building things up, like putting out another project, having it be a big maybe of whether or not it was going to get out to people, and like depending on people to like get it out to people and hoping that they don't fall through. That just didn't seem like organic and just like a reasonable path to me. So I was like, okay, I started to realize that at this time, a lot of YouTubers were uploading weekly and bi-weekly. And for whatever reason, um, it just stood out to me because at this point in YouTube's lifespan, which for any like super young bucks, they might be thinking about what I'm saying. Like they only know YouTube as one way of being, but YouTube itself has gone through phases as well,
Yeah.
where at that point in time, YouTube was kind of like everybody who was vlogging or uploading videos was doing it like every Tuesday or every Tuesday and Thursday. And it was almost like you knew that if you watch this person's channel, you knew to tune in on Tuesdays because every Tuesday there would be a new YouTube vlog or whatever. So I kind of adopted that and was like, you know what? I'm gonna start putting out a record every week and just, you know, just seeing how it goes. And it wasn't something that was like groundbreaking for me because there had been other musicians that were doing it at this time. It wasn't like a totally new concept. But for me, somebody who was putting out mixtapes and EPs and stuff like that, it was totally new. And I just found it to be like a happy medium between putting out something that I worked on for half a year where I'm gone for half the year and keeping those gears going at the pace that I'm used to working at, which is practically every day. So so I had success in terms of like output because I already worked in the studio that much. I've been writing every day, like for like people that know me from like back like high school, they know that whether I was at work or in school, like every day I had a notebook or a receipt and it's full. Like the whole page, the notebook, everything, the back of the receipt is full because I was just always writing. I was obsessed. These days, I'm not writing every single day because, you know, like I have other things that I really got to be responsible about, you know, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I write every single day, but I've gone through phases where I literally have, which we'll get into at some point. But yeah, man. So like my process hasn't changed at all, really. On a day like today, I get up and I just feel the creative juices the most early in the morning after I get up. So I get up, I take down some coffee these days. Take down some coffee and I sit down in my creative space and I load up either a beat that I've made. I typically start things from scratch. So very rarely do I like work on a beat a week ago, save it, and then come back to it. Nah, it's kind of like I sit down with my cup of coffee, I open up Logic or Pro Tools or Fruity Loops. I start working on the melody. After the melody, I add some drums. And then right from there, when I kind of have the bare minimum of the beat, I go into Pro Tools, I jump in the booth and I just kind of let it flow. And whatever comes out is 9 out of 10 times is how I'm feeling in the moment. And that's kind of how, I mean, countless songs have come out like that, like Tables, which has the most plays on my Spotify. That was literally like
crazy.
Thank you. That was somebody had sent me the beat. Obviously, shout out to Lunatic, shout out to Mars P, Michael Luna. You know, there's a couple people that I work with closely. So if I'm not making the beat, one of my brothers is sending me the beat, and I'm hearing it for the first time when I sit down with that cup of coffee, because I kind of have this ritual where like I don't listen to beats unless I'm in the studio and I'm ready to create, because for me personally, when a wave of inspiration hits me, I have to execute right then and there. So I can't like premeditate like what I'm gonna do, and like nah, it's got to be like on the spot, on the fly. Now there are certain instances, of course, where like you got to do what you got to do. So like the other night, I was busy all day. I was kind of like upset that I didn't get a chance to jump in the studio because I felt like that day I wanted to create. So finally, at the end of the day, I was tired, but I was like, let me just see if I could squeeze out a melody and just see what happens. And I ended up staying up to like 4 a.m. I wrote the whole song in one shot. I wasn't able to record it like I usually would like to, but the fact that I got that out of me and I was able to voice memo, you know, my ideas and stuff like that, that was good enough for me in that moment. Because again, for me, once inspiration strikes, I got to put the paintbrush to the canvas, because just as quick as it comes, it could leave, you know? And for me, I feel like when a beat speaks to me, it kind of tells me Like it kind of tells me, okay, this is what the vibe or like the topic, it's when I say like it comes out of me when I jump in the booth, it's kind of like the beat is kind of speaking to me and we're kind of having a dialogue. And then I'm kind of like just going off of the energy that I'm getting from the music itself. So that's kind of like a very brief insight into like how I work. It's just kind of like very in the moment, on the spot, and without too much thought, just kind of like letting it flow through me. And there are times when obviously you got to like refine, what
Absolutely.
comes out and stuff like that. But it's just part of the process. That's kind of how it starts.
Yeah, and as you're talking, I'm listening, and what I hear is like you said, when inspiration strikes you, you just get right to executing. And in the space that I'm in, just helping people in that personal development space, mental health, emotional wellness, all these things, and coaching people, that procrastination
Mm.
sucks a lot of inspiration out of people.
Yeah.
You know what I
Um,
mean?
yeah, absolutely. I like I have this thing where like when I come up with video concepts for like music videos, it's always like right after I do the song and I have no time, nobody to help, no like money to put into the video. It's like the worst possible, like circumstance to pull the idea off. But the times that I have like pushed through and really like tried no matter what to get the idea out, I've always been glad that somehow with duct tape and toothpaste, I like pulled this thing together, because it's like when the idea is fresh, when it comes, you're running off of straight up inspiration as fuel.
Yeah, facts.
And like when the idea gets to sit, when you sit on the idea, I feel like it leaves the door open for like doubt,
Absolutely.
excuses, procrastination, and then lo and behold, it doesn't get done. And
Right.
that one wave of inspiration could have changed your life, and even bigger, could have changed 10 other
Come on.
people, 1,000 other people's life. So I take it with that level of seriousness.
That's man, I love that because like I said, just dealing with the people I deal with, it's like, yo, that could have changed everything for you. That idea, that
Yeah,
insight, you know what I'm saying? And I'm on the same page as you in regards to like, yo, I have to execute on this thing.
yeah,
Because what happens if I sit too long, not only does doubt creep in, but I start to think logically in a sense where
exactly.
it throws
That's
me off. And
perfect.
it's like I don't want to think logically. Like this is the vision.
Exactly.
Like I can't move off of what my circumstance is right now. Like this is the vision. I have to move on it quickly and I have to put this thing
Hmm.
together because
Hmm.
logic is going to kick in. It's going to be like, nah, that's not
Yep.
really the way to
Yep.
go right now. How many people going to get this? You think people going to purchase this? Nah, they
Yep.
probably not
Yep.
even going. They're
Bro,
not going to want to read this. And
bro,
that's sheesh.
you couldn't have put it more perfectly. I'm going to use that in the future. When that little window you is enough for logic to creep in. And I think
Mm,
that essentially at a fundamental level, no matter if you're a speaker, an author, an athlete, an artist, I think we're all at fundamentally creatives. And inspiration, it's the same thing. Like inspiration is like that flash of light that comes from something beyond us, and it's not logical. It doesn't make sense. It's
mm,
crazy. It's insane. You know what I'm saying? And
right, right.
like you said, that's why for me that really resonated, because like, yeah, the moment you let logic, dance with insanity, it's like, I mean,
Bruh.
who do you think is gonna win? We
Right,
base
right.
our whole entire life is based off of logic. So
Mm,
we got to treat that little bit of inspiration that seeps in every now and then with that level of attention and expediency, because yeah.
exactly, bro. And this is I was talking to Les about this, my brother Les, our guy.
Mhm.
Um, I was just talking to him because I had him on here as well. And I'm like, man, everything that we see around us, everything that we're a part of, that we touch, that we experience was once in somebody's mind.
Mhm.
And they got that thing out. And the issue
Yeah.
is you're not allowing anybody to experience what's in your mind because of
Mm.
doubt, because of logic, you know what I'm saying? Because of
That's deep.
insecurities. And it's like, I know for a fact God didn't make mistakes when he brought us here. It wasn't like, yo, he had you and he's like, oh, you know, I messed up. I probably shouldn't have sent him down.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't have had Kev. Nah, not at this
Mm-hmm.
time. It's like, nah, you're here for a very specific purpose, bro. And you have
Yeah.
something within you that needs to come out. And I always
Yeah.
think about, you know, just the analogy of the graveyard, just having so many different ideas and being the wealthiest place in the world and all of
Yeah.
this. And it's just like,
Yeah.
man, we never got to experience that thing that was inside of you because you doubted yourself and you compared yourself to everything and everybody around you instead of being uniquely
Mm-hmm.
yourself. And that was the one thing really about you, is you were always yourself, whether it was the hairstyles, the clothes, the shows, the music, the style of it,
Mm.
fully yourself. And
Thank you,
again, I
man.
think that the people that were around you were truly blessed because I think that it inspired them to be
Mm.
more of themselves every single day and less of what the world wants us to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then
man.
you realize that when you're fully yourself, that's when you start thriving, to be completely honest.
Yeah, man. And I'm not even gonna lie to you, man. Like there's been chapters or phases since that time period that I've kind of gotten lost in the sauce a little bit. And it
Let's hear more about
definitely
that.
it definitely uh you know, like I feel like that's been part of my growth is as an artist and as a person is that there came a point where I felt like I hit a like a glass ceiling almost.
Mm.
You know that classic Kanye clip where he's like, you know, like how sway,
Yeah.
you know, like
That's the
man,
classic.
I've been he's like, man, I've been doing this, I've been doing that. Like, bro, I swear,
Dog.
man, that's like to me, that's like one of the realest pieces of content I've ever seen, bro, because there's so many times in my life and even to now where I feel like that. Like that raw emotion. I just want to talk.
Mm.
I wish I could talk to somebody like that because that's really how I feel. And with that level of seriousness, because what he was really fighting for was to be able to help people. He wants
Mm.
to be in a position to help people. And
Wow.
that's all I want is to be in a position to help people. Um, but anyway, so like there's been times where for me to get to the other side, I felt like I needed to just not blend in, but compete. And I think that's where things can get
Yeah,
hairy
yeah.
because it's like it's not that you want to become somebody else and you want to like ditch who you are, your individuality, but you just want to play on the court because you know you could pull up on LeBron and make
Right.
something happen. You know,
Like, you
like
know, you got game like that. Like, you know, in your
yeah,
heart, like, yo,
yeah.
I can rock with
So you're
that.
like, all right, okay, that's how y'all want to play. All right, I got you. Let me play by your rules real quick so I could just get in, and then once I get on the court, I could really, let go. But again, that's a dangerous game to play, and you can get lost in the sauce. And some people don't come back
Mm.
from that. And I'm grateful that I kind of caught myself like the guy in Squid Games, that meme that's going around. I caught myself like that, bro. Like, yo, where I'm like, yo, come on, bro, come on. And then honestly, bro, it's conversations like this that
Yeah.
bring me back to those days that I'm like, yo, like, bro, you know who you are, you know where you
Right.
come from, you know what you've done. Like, stay true to you, no matter how long it takes, no matter how much adversity you face. The fact that you've been able to navigate, stay who you are, and like impact people, no matter how big or small, that's a sign that you're doing something, and yeah, man. So like, kind of similar to that graveyard analogy. One that really always stood out to me is similar to that is don't die with your music still in you. And
Mm. I like that.
um yeah, so like when I heard that, I was like, man, that's everything I need to hear because you could be so focused on getting this project, getting this video, getting this whatever done and out, and you're like really obsessing over the details. And you don't know when your last piece of content is going to be. You don't know when
Yeesh.
the last thing that you could ship out into the world that can touch somebody is going to be. So
Mm.
I think I've evolved or matured artistically to a point where I really do feel I have a responsibility as a creator, to show up, and to show up in a way that's actually meaningful, you know?
It's that sense of urgency, knowing
Yeah.
like, look, I'm not necessarily worried about dying, but I know that someday I will. I don't know when that
Yeah.
is. I need to get this out of me
Yeah.
because God forbid I have something in me. There's this great almost analogy in a sense. One of my guys shared this with me. I'm a part of this Black men healing group, and he
Mm,
said, and I probably shared this on the podcast before, so forgive me, listeners, if y'all heard this, but this is great because he was like, what happens if, say, if this is the scenario, you pass away, right, long down the line, you live your life, you pass away at old age, and you meet God, and he
mm,
says, why didn't you use the gifts I gave you to do what I
mm,
called you to do?
mm,
And when he said that, I was like, yo, what do you say? Is it like, man, I was insecure. You know what? The label did me dirty. I just gave up on, I wasn't feeling it. I didn't have the
mm,
money. And he's like, I gave you everything you needed to
mm.
make this happen.
Man.
Everything. Everything you needed. I equipped you. I well equipped you with the gift, with the skills, with the intelligence, with the grit. But you allowed your emotions to take over. You
Yeah,
allow
man.
logic to creep through the window. And it's like, what do you say? You know
Bro,
what I mean?
I'm literally getting goosebumps right now because on some super, super, super real stuff, man, like there's times where, and every when I say there's times, I'm talking about right now. Like I'm in the thick of it right now. And I'm sure we
Mm,
all are.
same,
If
same.
we're if we're striving or aspiring to become, greater than how we started, then we're all in the thick of it, right? So sometimes I look around, bro, and there is literally not one sign of anything being like in the direction that I want it to be in. You get what I'm saying? Like you look around and you're
Absolutely.
like,
Absolutely.
I've been working for how long? I've been doing what? I've been planting these seeds for how freaking long, and like what do I have to really show for that really can say like, yo, you're on the right path. Sometimes I look around, bro, and it's like tumbleweed, like the classic
Mm.
tumbleweed in the desert
Sheesh. Yeah,
highway.
yeah.
Sometimes I feel like that, being honest. But I think to myself, if I'm wrong, if everything that I'm being so my aspirations, if I am 100% wrong, I do believe that I'll get to that other side and I'll speak to the creator. And when he sits down and he's like, it's kind of like judgment day, I feel like I'll have done the right thing with the knowledge that I had available to me, which was to believe in myself, believe in the gifts that I feel like I've acquired, through the divine, and then expanded on through working hard to turn it into a skill. I believe in that. So if I'm wrong by the world's standard, by the time I get to the end of the road, I feel like when it's time to do checks and balances on a spiritual level, I'll be good. And
Mm.
that's kind of like a deep concept, but I could be wrong as far as the world goes. I could maybe, who knows? Like maybe things don't go the way that I always dreamed or worked for them to be. But I'll go happy knowing that I gave everything I had to like what I believed in. You get what I'm
Mm.
saying? So like, and for me, that's a life well spent. Is yeah, maybe you didn't, get things off the way that you wanted to, but the fact that you lived a purposeful life with meaning, and your fuel was everything that you believed in, and out of love and not, fear and insecurity and wanting to fit in and material things. I feel like that's a good life, man. Like,
Yeah.
I'd rather live that life than a very comfortable life that's not in alignment with who I really
Right.
am. And then I feel like in that point, by the world standards, you will have lived a full life. But when it comes time to do checks and balances on a spiritual level and you sit down with the creator, I don't feel like that's going to go the way that you think, because, you know, down the street, everybody loved you because you had a house that was just as big as theirs, you know? So but that's
Yeah.
my personal, like, super deep philosophy.
No, no, no. I resonate with that, bro. And I think that as you're speaking, I think of success. I think of the things we strive for every day, the things that we believe in. It's like that's the win. That's what we remember people for. It wasn't the fact that you got the big contract. It wasn't the money. It wasn't the cars. When I think about people who I admire their work, I admire who they are as artists, as creatives, as leaders. It never has to do with material. Never material. It's not the
Yeah.
the Grammys. It's none of that stuff. It's like, yo, how did this person make me feel when they
Hmm.
used the gift that they were given to create? Like, how did I
Yeah.
feel when I heard their music? How did I feel when I seen that body of work, when I read that book?
Yeah.
I don't care how much money you got. I don't care how
Yeah.
big your house is. I don't care about how flashy you are. None of it really matters because it doesn't change me. But your
Yeah.
words, how you laid yourself down on that track, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
How you poured yourself out, how that changed my life and my mind. That's the stuff right there where it's like, yo, what this concept of success and what I'm striding for, what is it really? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Of course, we want to be on the big stages and the platforms. Of course, we want to travel the world. Of course, we want to have the massive fan base and have our stuff everywhere.
Hmm.
But it's like, man, that feeling of knowing I gave everything, it's
Yeah.
like I can sleep at night with that.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah, man.
you know what I mean? I can't sleep at night knowing that, you know, I kind of gave 20%, I'm gonna be honest, but it looked good. Here's
Yeah.
a great analogy, right? So we both know I've been training in fitness for a while,
Hmm.
and a lot of people will see me like, yo, you always in shape, man. But in my head, I know I'm giving like 50%
Yeah.
for a
Yeah. You
fact.
know. Yeah.
I
You
know.
know.
I'm like, I can easily scoot by and y'all believe that I'm killing it. But it's like, in my heart of hearts, I can look myself in the mirror like, yo, you can do better, bro.
Yeah.
Like you have more in you. Like
Yeah.
you're not staying on top of with your food. You're not disciplined anymore. You know you have more, right? But to
Hmm.
everybody else, it looks good.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that, man, you hit that on the nose, bro, in regards to just that success and reaching the dreams and going after what you were placed here for. Yo, if I get up every day and I give all I have to it,
Uh,
I'm good.
yeah.
I gotta let the because I
Yeah.
can't control where the chips fall. I cannot control it. It'd drive me insane if I tried to. That's not up to me.
Bro.
You know what I'm saying? Faith
Yeah.
is literally it's your action, it's your footwork, right? It's
Hmm.
what you do. That's what faith
Yeah.
is. And I truly believe that you're someone who literally, since the day I've met you, lives by faith. Like you walk on that thing. Like you don't know what the outcome is. You have a hopeful outcome of what you want it to be. But the
Yeah.
reality
Yeah.
is, it's like, you know, you can't control how many people show up, how many people
Yeah.
stream, how many people
Yeah.
tune in. You can't control those things, but you're like, yo, I'm gonna show up every day. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I'm gonna put the work in. I'm gonna get all of this out of me. I feel great about the work. I feel like it's top tier.
Mhm.
And this is how I'm living my life.
Yeah, I think in 20 so after 2017 when we did the tour, and you know, after putting out music weekly for like a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. I forget, because I think I started the weekly thing in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. But moving forward, 2017 going into 2018, when I made the jump to LA,
Hmm.
um, I kind of had in my mind that because I had work ethic and the quality work, that if I just went on into overdrive for as long as I could and literally like all cylinders, like, you know, just literally everything until the tank is empty, that I could tip the scale in my favor, and
Mm.
kind of create the condition, you know, by force, basically, because that's really what it is fundamentally. You know, it's like you just trying to go as hard as you can to try to force the game to be in your hands. And you know, I realized that that's just not the way, you know. And
Wow.
if I could go back, I wouldn't put myself through the mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical stress that I put myself through trying to put out a record every day.
I about to say that was that time, the record every day thing, right? That was crazy,
Yeah,
by the way.
yeah,
Sheesh.
yeah. So I mean, like, it was in practice and as a discipline, it was good, but I took it to extremes that were just totally uncalled for, just because I wanted to create a result. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of where, like, that journey, and then going into like a major label situation, all of that really led me to a climax where I realized that, okay, this is what detachment is. You have to
Mm,
you have to be apart from the goal. I mean the result. If you're not detached from the result, there's no way you're gonna be able to attain the result. And if you get the result by other
that's
means,
good.
it's not gonna be what you really want it to be. You know, it's like, it's just not gonna last long. It's not gonna be the healthy situation for you. So that whole journey between late 2017 when I moved, and then into like mid 2019, to be honest, that whole chapter, that's like a good year and a half, a year and 3 quarters. That was a dark period for me. But it led me to that realization of learning detachment. And of course, I'm not perfect. There's times where I'm like, I'm in a much more creatively stable and just like healthy place right now than I've ever been. But there are times, because just like any other temptation, where I'm like, maybe, maybe if I do this, you know what I'm saying? Like, we can get
Right.
this to pop off and da 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 da. But I always come back to like, nah, chill, bro. Like, just
Mm,
do your thing, and do that to the best that you can, and let the chips fall where they may, you
right.
know?
It's crazy how the
And
shiny
it's,
thing almost gets us all the time, bro.
bro, bro, I mean, come on, bro. It's like anything else. Like, me and you both know that 9 out of 10 times, the chain that you buy from the mall, the diamonds are fake. But every time you walk by, you look at that thing, you're like, damn,
Yeah, you like, yeah, that joint kind of tough.
yeah, that joint looks dope, so it's kind of like that. So I'm not gonna pretend like I'm
Mm,
perfect, but the biggest lesson I've learned is letting go of the outcome. Um, just letting go of the outcome, bro. Because like you
mm.
said it perfectly. We have no control really, other than just showing up and doing our best. We have no control into like forcing an outcome to be what we want it to be.
Mm. That's good, man. It makes me think of how we kicked this whole thing off with the one brick at a time thing. It's like I'm
Yep,
not necessarily focused on the entire wall. I'll get there at some point, but today I'm gonna just lay
exactly.
this brick perfectly, bro. And we have to go through our peaks and valleys, through our crushing seasons, through our challenging times. The issue is a lot of times when people come out of those dark situations, they don't recover and they
Hmm.
don't apply what they've learned.
Yeah,
It's
man.
beating them up so bad that they just stop whatever the thing was. And I want to just give you your flowers because you kept going, kicked it into overdrive, and now you're in a space now creatively, just from what I'm seeing on the outside looking in, where it looks like you're really tapping into like peak level performance now, especially with the way you've transitioned your sound.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a process, bro. So like, I'm still I'm still experimenting the way that I was before, just at a different level. And like, for example, a couple weeks ago, or maybe like 2 months ago or whatever, I was like, yo, I just woke up one day and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start dropping a record every week again, because I find that my mental state is actually the best, and I feel the best. My attitude, my mood is overall the best when I'm consistently creating, kind of like on a regular regimen, kind of like how if you're like prepping for a fitness event, you're in the gym 5 days a week, and even on rest
Right,
days you're doing cardio. So
right.
like, so for me, creatively, I'm in my best place as a person if I'm creatively consistently, my gears are turning in the studio. So I kind of was like, you know what? Let me get back. Let me try to find my rhythm again, and get back into like weekly releases. However, times are a little different. Responsibilities are a little bit different. I'm not gonna allow that to be an excuse. However, I gotta dance with the flow of things. But anyway, I did it. Been sticking to it. However, the last couple weeks or so, I've been finding myself kind of like just wanting to not rush and feel like that like tense like why do I need, like I don't need to like, deliver this tomorrow or
Right.
else. Because then I'm kind of like, you're kind of like working your way a little bit back into the whole like, well, if I don't
Mm-hmm.
do this, then maybe this won't happen. And like, maybe people won't tune in if I don't do this. And like, nah, man, like, just get up, do your thing to the best of your ability. If it ends up taking 2, 3 days, all right. But at the end of the day, the goal and the North Star is giving that single brick all the attention, care, water, nutrition that it needs to be the best, most perfectly laid brick that
Mm.
brick can be. And so like now I feel like I'm finding a new rhythm where like, you know, about every week and a half to 2 weeks, I'm pumping out something that I'm truly proud of. And at no point did I feel like I had to like, hurry up or like, let me try to squeeze this out even though I'm tired. Those things are just not, rest is just as important as working out. And you know that.
Man, I
Like
just
I'm
talked about
sure I'm
that with
sure you've
somebody.
thought I'm sure you've told me that, at some point when you were training me, like
Yeah,
your
yeah.
your rest period is just as important as your your regimen. So like, yeah, man, just like the time of hustling at all costs, body, health, mental state, for me, that ain't the wave. Like
That's good.
I gotta move at my pace. No doubt, I'm still in the arena. I'm still competing, and I'm still competing at my highest level. But now I'm coming at it with more maturity on a creative
Right.
level. I'm not playing at your speed. I'm playing at my speed. And
That's a
and
word for somebody right there.
and at my speed, I'm actually more effective. My
Hmm.
performance is higher. You get what I'm saying? So like,
Right.
so that's kind of where I'm at right now, creatively, and in terms of like my creative process is that I'm just really sitting down and taking my time to like create something that I've given every ounce of me that I can, and then once that's done, on to the next.
That's real, bro. That's so real. And in regards to the rest, I was just interviewed for a podcast called I Took the
Fire.
Risk. And we talked
That's
about
hard.
yeah, the title's hard. The title's hard. But we talked about that, and that was one of the main things they asked, like, what was some insight you would give, entrepreneurs, people who are doing certain things. I'm like, yo, rest, especially
Mm,
men. Like the rest
yeah,
is
man.
super, super important, bro. We
Yeah,
get to a point of burnout, bro.
yeah, and I'm not even gonna get into the whole like male aspect of it, but just on a super surface level, like men traditionally being the breadwinners and kind of like the hunter gatherers of the family, the backbone that kind of like is the protector. Normally, traditionally, we have to like exert ourselves to levels that are not even healthy. So like I feel like more and more as mental health and just
Mm,
like overall progressive conversations are happening in society, I feel like the whole, traditional, typical, uh, at all costs, by any means
right.
kind of attitude is like, I mean, yeah, it's there's a time and place, but not all the time, bro.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna talk to you offline about a project I'm working on specifically for that. And it was inspired by something I heard. Um, it said black men, and this goes for all men, I truly believe, but it said black men deserve to grow old.
Mm,
And I
that's
was like, sheesh. It's heavy, but I'm definitely, because I don't want to drop it for them yet. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk to you about that offline
Sure.
once we're done this one, because that's deep, bro. That's deep. But as we begin to kind of come to a close here, before we close out, because you're someone who I truly have, you know, just a lot of admiration and respect for, and just
Likewise, bro.
your insight. There's somebody now who's watching this, whether today, tomorrow, 10 years from now, um, who is in the position you were once in when you were back here in Jersey. Like, they're ambitious, they have the vision, right? But life hasn't necessarily happened in regards to, you've had experiences with the industry, like the industry, like the glitz and the glam of what it's like over in LA. What it's like trying to chase that dream and feel like you're getting shut down everywhere. But you have the skills to be in the arena. Like, like, yo, I'm really that guy. Like, y'all just need to see this. What I would say, invite advice, or what do you have to offer in regards to insight for that next generation who's coming up right under us, who just, they have the skills, they have the fire within them, but they're in a position where they can be easily manipulated and all these different things, because we're also hungry in the sense of like, yo, I don't have everything that I necessarily want right now. I'm working from a deficit. I have to get this by any means necessary. I have to create and learn how to be resourceful. You are somebody who's super resourceful. So what's some insight that you may have for them, bro?
I think that there's a couple things that you come across no matter what industry you're in, that's kind of like the norm. And I feel like this aligns beautifully with change what we normalize as a concept, because you're going to come across people that have the experience, the wisdom, the track record to tell you something, and for you to have no merit or right in any situation to like question it, because they got the experience, the history, the track record, and all that. So you're going to hear things like, this is just the way it is. That's not how things are done. Nobody's ever done that, or like, that doesn't work, or it takes a village. That's kind of like one I've been kind of like playing with in my head, because I've heard that so many times. And it's like when somebody tells you like, yo, the sky is 100% blue. Yeah, generally speaking, it is. But there are times where the sky is straight up purple, straight up orange, you know, straight up dark blue, almost black. So there's a time and place for everything. And when you hear somebody say something like, it takes a village, you got to understand that in order for there to be a village in the first place, there has to be one member. And that one member has to set up camp by themselves, start a fire, I don't know, grab some wood, bring, hunt some animals, and they have to kind of like start something for somebody else walking by who's lost or looking for a place to call home, or a group of people to build with. For that second,
so that's why the broke college student comes in.
For that second person to come by and be like, oh, this looks like a good place for me to set up camp, and then for you to start building something. So long story short, what I'm getting at is that be your own everything for as long as you can. And when I say for as long as you can, I'm talking about like for a long time, because like, because somebody might hear that and be like, okay, well, tomorrow I really need somebody to help me with this. But in from a bird's eye view, it's really just you until you get good enough to where you're undeniable. Like nobody could sit there and tell you that. Like, if you're just nailing 3-pointers for like 30 shots straight, that's undeniable. So like, and for somebody like me, I'm never gonna make something and complete it and then put it out, and anybody be able to tell me and convince me that that's not something that is at the elite level, as far as creatively, execution wise. So you got to get yourself to that level before you start to say to yourself, yeah, you know what? It really does take a village. Maybe I need to expand a little bit. You got to be your own everything up until that point, because most people, I mean, it's basic math. For first of all, most people are not looking at life from the way that you are. If you're trying to achieve something that is beyond the norm, right? So
Right.
just by sheer numbers, it's going to be hard to find another person who's at your same wavelength.
Mm-hmm.
And then for that person to believe in the same thing that you're seeing, you know what I'm saying? Like that will happen when it's the time for that to happen. In the meantime, you need to equip yourself with a utility belt. That means you got to learn how to do everything from start to finish of what it is that you want to do, at least up until the point where you can get your wheels rolling. Because had I waited on somebody who could engineer, had I waited on a studio that was affordable, had I waited on somebody who I could go ask them, hey, can I come record at your house? You know, when your parents aren't home, or like, you know, something like that. Had I waited on somebody who had a camera, had I waited on somebody who had a venue, somebody who was a talent manager, all these things, I wouldn't be here having this conversation. And so don't expect to get anywhere at all if you're not willing to be your own everything first. If you're not willing to go find a random spot in the woods and be like, you know what, this is where I'm gonna build my village. It may be a village of one right now, but it's got to start somewhere, because if nobody starts, there will never be any village, you know? So kind of to wrap that up in a simple way, people will try to convince you that you need XYZ. But really, in today's age, especially, and as time goes on, if this is something 10 years from now that people are looking back on, bro, you got everything you need. All you need is literally the easiest, cheapest paying job, grind it out for 2-3 months, save up, get the gear that you need, spend time on YouTube, teach yourself everything that you need to learn, sacrifice, you know, instead of buying $100 to $200 Jordans, spend that on the things that you need, and maybe spend a little bit of money on getting somebody to do the thing for you that you need done, just so you can learn how they do it. You get what I'm saying? So like, so that you can become the ultimate Swiss Army knife of what it is that you want to do. That's number one, because if you're not self-sufficient, trust me, you're not going to be happy, because you're not going to be able to do what you really want to do at will. You know, when inspiration strikes, that's number one. You got to be able to get that idea down. And then B, you're going to run into all kinds of business situations where people, you'll be more vulnerable than you really want to be, because in business, if you can't do something and somebody can hold that over you, it leaves doors open for things that, if you're just at least educated at the very least about that part of the process, you can make a more informed decision. And that's kind of really what it comes down to, is being informed on the business side. If you could be informed about it because you've learned how to do it, you've, you know, acquired the service enough where you understand the process, then you leave yourself in a better position to negotiate at a business level. And, you know, if somebody was talking to me when I was 18, 19 about this side, the business side, no doubt I probably would not have paid attention. But the older you get, the more mature and experienced you get in any industry, the more you realize how important and how much of an integral part the business side is. And at the end of the day, what we want to do is be able to use our time in any which way that we please. And hopefully that's to empower and help other people. So if you want to be able to do that, you got to have business savvy, because that means that you got to be in control of your time. And time is the number one commodity on planet Earth. You know, so if you want to not have to sell your time so that you could do the things that you want to do with your time, you're going to have to learn how to negotiate and put yourself in the best position possible on a business side. And that's only going to happen when you've either educated yourself or learned how to do all the processes that you're going to eventually one day have to get a team or a village to help you do at a bigger scale. So I hope I didn't lose anybody, but that's kind of
No, man.
you know.
I hope they were taking notes, bro, because that was so much, just so much game, bro, and it really blessed me. Like I felt like you were, well, you are talking to me, but I felt like you were speaking directly to me. And it's just utilize what you have, bro. It makes me even think about this podcast, bro. It's like I don't really know much about what to get, the equipment, how to set it up. It's like, yo, I got to start
Bruh.
somewhere. It started as audio. It's gonna move to video. I'm gonna get a better camera. I got a MacBook now. Like I'm gonna keep upgrading, but it's like you got to start, and you
And
have to
bro,
be resourceful.
this whole layout, everything is legit. Like I'm
Thanks,
trying to
bro.
figure out how to get my, my live stream, because I'm on Twitch trying to get that to be a regular thing. But like I'm trying to figure out how to get my thing to look this good. So for
I got you.
somebody who's gotten to from zero to where this is now, this is great. This is like
Thank you, bro.
this is a prime example. Like I don't like when people say, oh, there's no excuse, da 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 da, because it's kind of like a cheap way to like throw anything out there at people and just be like, oh, you should be doing this. But in reality, like if you really are passionate about something, you're gonna learn how to do it. Like you're gonna figure it out. You're
Right.
gonna spend the time, spend the hours, because it's that burning call inside you that's just pulling you towards that thing. And you're like, I gotta do this. I gotta be doing this. So like at some point, I'm sure you were like, I don't know where to start with this podcast, but I gotta do this podcast. I
I
gotta
gotta
like
start.
gotta get this going. So yeah, man, be self-sufficient and be kind of like your everything that you need for as long as you can, until you reach an elite level of excellence in whatever your field is, because that's going to help you immensely, emotionally, creatively, execution wise, and business wise. Number one. That's number one.
Absolutely, man. Look, bro, man, we can do this for
I know we
a
could do
while.
it for
Actually,
like
I
24
gotta
hours.
bring you back. I gotta bring you back for another episode, man. I like all of my guests that have been on here, they become change what we normalize alumni. So you'll officially be alumni, and I definitely want to bring you back. Because
Yeah.
we only hit on a little bit, to be honest.
I know, and
We
there was so many things I wanted to talk to you about, like on your grind. Like I wanted to talk to you about that. Like so, we definitely
yeah, man.
gotta keep the conversation going.
Nah, for sure. I'm gonna definitely have you back. Real quick though, where can people find you
Uh,
online if they want to connect with you?
So you can literally go anywhere on the internet, just type in Kev Decor, KevDecor. My YouTube is Kev Decor. You just type in Kev Decor. My Twitter, Instagram, everything is Kev Decor, and you'll find me very easily.
Nice. Make sure y'all follow this dude, man. The journey, the wisdom, the art itself, bro. Still, and I told him this a bunch of times. I'm like, bro, even if I didn't know you, the music I'm a fan of. Like I
Thank you, bro.
literally was putting people on the music. I was bumping the songs, and I went back to my SoundCloud today before we jumped on here, and I went way back into the archives, bro. And I didn't realize this, but I downloaded so much stuff. Like literally, I opened my thing, and you're the first picture that comes up.
Wow, man.
So I
That's what's
have
up,
like
bro. Major love, bro. Thank you.
yeah, bro. I used to bump these joints on the regular, and one of my favorites of yours. This is a classic. It was 44. I think it was 44
44
seasons.
seasons, yeah.
Bro,
Yeah.
when I say I probably listened to that song a good 10,000 times, bro, because it
Man.
resonated with me on such a level, bro. And I remember this era when you were dropping those songs, Legend of Candle Boy, Kid from Nowhere, Everybody Knows. Like I was bumping these heavy, bro.
Yeah,
Heavy.
man.
And they
Yeah.
were like soundtracks to my life at one point. I'm just like, man, it was powerful. And that's how, because you could be biased towards your boys. Like, oh, it's my guy, I'm gonna play his stuff, but it's like, nah, this is really actually fire. Like all the way down to the video production. It's like, yo, how's this dude doing this stuff? I be thinking that every time you put a video out, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm struggling with a phone over here. And I'm like, this dude is putting together like movies, first of all. I'm like, how in the hell is he doing this? So I just commend you, bro, and just the work you're doing, the art you're doing. I'm a huge fan. Just from the outside looking in. I always told you when it starts hitting the big arenas and the big stages, like I'm purchasing my ticket. Don't give me nothing free. I need to purchase my joint. I need to be in the
I
front.
appreciate you, bro.
I'm paying top dollar. I need to be there because the work speaks for itself, bro. So before I let you go, you know, what's next right now for Kev Decor?
Well, I mean, what's next for Kev Decor? I mean, obviously I'm always working on music. I got some things that I'm working on, you know, but really honestly, bro, I'm just trying to get back to that feeling, that mental state of that time period, and the reason I say that is because I feel like as the older you get and the more further in the journey, like life in general, the more pressure you feel from like the outside forces to like just kind of like have yourself in a stable place in life. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, it was just music. I wasn't thinking about like, oh, you know, I've been paying rent for how many years now? I could have bought a house by now. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain things I think as you grow that become take a seat in that front row of priorities. You know what I'm saying? And back then I was just so like tunnel vision on just music, and now I kind of got to think about everything else. So I've been really trying to get back to like that mental space where I could just focus on documenting the journey, man. You know, because like when you're telling me like, yo, I used to listen to this, I used to listen to that, in my head I'm like, I'm not documenting the journey, because if we have this conversation and we can talk about all the things that we're going through and be on the same page, but you're not like, yo, that song you dropped yesterday, yo, you were telling my story. Now I'm thinking I'm not documenting the journey because, or at least enough, because this shouldn't be a 3-year ago thing. But like I told you earlier in this podcast, I'm just now turning a corner, like in life, where I came out to LA, went through a lot of experiences, and I'm just now like getting on my feet, you know, just now at a good place, and just now have just slayed the 7-headed dragon that I felt was kind of like keeping me, you know, from getting through to where I really needed to be. So now moving forward, now that I'm in a much better place, physically and mentally, I feel like I can kind of reconnect with that North Star, because that North Star got a little hazy, man, for a second. It really did. But I feel like I really came out on the other side, and now it's just about just reconnecting with me, you know? And
love that.
You know, a lot of things I'm talking about on social media are really centered around, yo, like I don't need all this extra noise. You know, like
right.
all this other stuff is noise, bro. Like there's like people that I can count on 2 hands that anytime they call or text me, without a doubt, I'm picking up right then and there, unless I'm driving or in the middle of something super important where I can't pick up. Other than that, I'm in the studio and I'm focused on this, because as life progresses, the pressure can, if you let it, become something that more and more consumes you and kind of takes you away from that North Star, or it's like a cloud that blocks that North Star. So it's really just tapping in, bro. That's really where I'm at right now, and getting back to that, and like the things that you were talking about earlier about like the tour and all that. Like, and I don't want to keep you too long because I'm sure you got other things, but
no, I'm good.
Like those are all things I've been wanting to do, been wanting to kind of continue to elevate and expand on. But man, it's been tough, bro. Like I'm in a whole new land, you know, like practically it's not the same, you know. So like it's like rebuilding your resources, rebuilding the tools that are necessary. But once again, like I said, my advice to any younger artists or the next generation, you got to put that time in. You gotta battle and push forward no matter what to become your own opportunity, to create your own opportunity. And so now that I'm kind of like back on go, as far as like my goals and my visions, I'm I'm thinking about the things that you're saying. I'm like, yeah, it's time to put on another show. It's time to put on another tour. It's time to, really focus on the message, and like the story, documenting. Because if it ain't about pushing people forward and creating a way where there was none before, then what are we doing?
Exactly. Exactly. And as I'm listening to you, man, what I hear is this: it's like we start off excited and laser focused, and then life happens, right? And it's almost as if life is the struggle of regaining that focus. You know what I'm
That's
saying? And
powerful.
that's what it
Yeah.
sounds like. It's like life is literally this game of I'm going to knock you off your focus, and you got to try to get back on.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout life, whether we're chasing our dreams, goals, whatever it is, it's all about, can I focus on this one thing?
Yeah.
Bills are going to
Yes.
happen, situations are going to happen, ups and downs are going to happen, turmoil, you know what I mean? Can I
Yeah,
stay
man.
focused? And I believe that we win when we stay focused. I'm gonna be honest, and that's challenging, and it's easy to say, but it's simplistic. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's really just focus. That's it. Now
Yeah.
it's it's,
And
it's super hard, but focus.
yeah. Um, I feel like I'm called to say this right now, and I literally had zero plans of it, but like I just feel like this conversation was so good, and I feel like this moment is just deserving of me saying it, and with you, because you're somebody who I look up to in terms of like stepping out and doing things that are really outside of like the comfort zone. Even though you told me so many years ago that you were going to write a book, but I'm working on a book. It's
Hey.
called it's called For Those Who Didn't Hit the Lottery in Their 20s. And
Mm,
it's really just about kind of like a guide for people like us to know that, yo, like the people that get to like be the people that make it and pop off in their 20s and like 21 and like selling platinum albums and all this stuff, like that's not every day. That's not everyday real life. That's like you hitting the lottery, you know.
mm,
And what nobody ever talks about, because people by the time you hit 30, bro, why doesn't anybody talk about what happens after that? Like
right.
what happens to all the dreams that you had in your 20s and that spark, that drive that you had at 18, 19? Like what happened to that? It's like almost like when you hit 30, it's like if it didn't happen by then you just on to the next
Right.
thing. You're the next best thing. And I feel like conversations like this are they let you know that, yo, like you're still young. You still have a chance. You can still live that fulfilled dream life that you want. You can still make it happen, even with all the adversity that now surrounds you at a different level. Um,
Mm,
and so I just think we need to talk about this more, because I've never heard a Drake or anybody else, even though these are people that I consider peers on a professional and creative level, but I've never heard nobody talk about, you know, juggling that 40-hour work week and creating and hitting jump shots like LeBron.
right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Like, and what it's like
Right.
to like have to balance that meal plan with that regimen and that job, or like, that side hustle. Like, we don't hear about that.
Right.
And I feel like there needs to be somebody that fills that void and becomes a voice, and between people like you, me, and other people that we consider our brothers and peers, we have these stories. We live this every day because we're still on that journey. So anyway, I just wanted to say that because I kind of also wanted to indirectly put that pressure on me to actually execute on that idea, that concept, which I've already started. But also, you being a successful author yourself, I just felt like it was the right time to kind of announce that. So yeah,
Nah,
man,
I
like
appreciate you saying that, bro, because as you said that, it made me think of this when you said that we've almost normalized the anomaly.
exactly, man, exactly.
Like the star. We've normalized the LeBron James, the Drake in the sense of like, yo, that's what you got to do.
Yeah,
That's
and
who
if
you
it
got to
doesn't
be.
happen that way, then it's not gonna
If it
happen.
doesn't happen, it's not meant to happen. It's like, nah, we can't do that because that's the anomaly in the situation. That's 1 out of a million. But
Yo,
we focused on the 1 out of a million. And if you're not that, then it's like, yo, I can't. Like you said, you hit 30 and it's like, yo, what happened to your dreams and goals and ambitions you had? You stop? And it's
yeah,
like, nah, I feel like I'm just starting to get in a groove.
exactly. And to be honest with you, I feel like you and we're not even at our peak yet. Like we have new levels that like are still being unearthed. You know what I'm saying? So that dialogue, I feel like that's a perfect way to wrap up because it's like changing what we normalize. I think the whole world is on a wave of like waking up to new things and being progressive. And a big part of that is that whole anomaly thing, like you said, because bro, that's not real life. Like real life is not waking up as a 21-year-old and you're a millionaire. That's not how it
It's
works.
not real
It's
life at
like,
all.
like, so if you base your life off of that only thing that you know because you know nothing else and there's no other narrative, then it's just like it's a false guide or map, So
Yeah. And that's the dangers of like social media at times.
exactly,
'Cause I know that
exactly.
happened to me. And it's like I was looking at people who were the anomaly in my space, comparing myself to them. It's like, bruh, it's two people. It's like
Yeah,
you can't do that because that's not reality for you or really anybody
yeah.
at the end of the
And
day.
and I think what happens is that that temptation, like there's a reason why sayings like, oh, the grass always looks greener on the other side. There's a reason why sayings like that are around for so long, is because us as humans, I think we'll always have that natural tendency to like look at the neighbor's yard and be like, like our grass is like dying and their grass is
Mm.
flourishing. Like, oh, they just added a new fountain to their front yard. Man, like, like I think that's always gonna happen naturally. But as we evolve and mature creatively and personally and professionally, what we get better at is managing that and understanding that I'm falling into that thought pattern again. And then
Mm.
you have a system or a mechanism of like coming back to real life right away. Where you're like,
Right,
nah, nah,
right.
nah, nah, that's a trap. I know myself. Like, you know? So yeah, man, we just got to continue to have these kind of conversations because I think too many people our age give up too soon, man.
I see
You
it all
know?
around me. I see it all around me, man. And not even to prolong this, because this is such a great conversation, and I
I know,
love
man.
great
I know.
conversation. I don't get them often, bro. I don't get them often. So when I have them, I'm like, I gotta, you know what I mean? I tell
Yeah.
my lady all the time, she's like, people my age love to go out and party and all that stuff. It's cool, whatever. But it's like, yo, bring somebody over, we crack a few drinks, maybe
Hmm.
you get a cigar, we have a good conversation.
Yeah.
I'm straight,
That's.
bro.
Yep.
I'm straight.
Yep.
But as even in and as I think about all of this, man, it goes back to the concept of just like be yourself. We live our entire lives
Mm,
not even realizing that we aren't being ourselves. And it takes us almost our entire life to figure that out. Now, me
yeah.
and you have figured it out, I believe, at young ages.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Crazy, bro. I literally had this conversation with my mom on the phone, like literally an hour before you and I got on. Excuse me. We were talking about that same exact thing. And that was kind of like a different conversation for me and my mom to have. But, like you got one life, man.
Mm,
One life. And so cliche. I know so many people say it, but
so true,
that's
though.
another thing. It's like the more the more you see of the world, the more you kind of start to understand why certain sayings are so common. You know, it's because a lot of them tend to be founded on some kind of truth. But like, you get one life, man, and you're gonna live your life based on somebody else's perspective of you, and like, you know, what they think of you and what kind of person they think that you are without knowing you. Like, come on, man. Like, it's 2021, bro. Like, you just can't live like that, you know? It's not, it doesn't end well, you know?
Right. After the type of year we just had, it's like, yeah, the last thing you need to be worrying about is somebody's opinion.
Yeah,
especially
man.
if you're not free. You know what I'm saying? You don't feel like you're being yourself. You feel like you have to constantly be this performer for other people, to show up for other people to like you, man. I got to step out of that, bro. They got to step out of that. And man, again, I appreciate you, man, and just this
Yeah, you
conversation
too, bro. You
and
too. I
just
know we
having
could go
you
on
on.
forever.
Yeah, no. Seriously, y'all, make sure again that y'all follow my brother, man, on IG, Twitter, Facebook, everything. Kev Decor, man. He's incredible. And you know, this was just an insight of who he is, but we can go so much longer, but I'm not going to prolong it. I usually have my other two segments, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut those short because I believe that if you're listening to this, watching this, you need to go back and rewind and allow yourself to digest and process what was shared during this conversation. You know what I mean? I don't want to overload you and fill you up too much, but you need to go back, re-listen to this at least 2 more times and really dissect what was being shared. Because this information, this insight, this wisdom literally can change your life, man. So again, my brother Kev, man, look, bro, I appreciate you. I love you, man. We do
Love you
have to
too,
do this
dog.
again soon, bro.
For
And
sure.
yeah, I gotta
Hopefully
have
in
you back
person.
on.
Hopefully
Oh
in
man,
person.
that's hey, look, bro, that's next up, in-person podcast.
Yeah.
Just know I'm working on that. But I appreciate y'all. Look, if you're listening to this, watching this right now, make sure you subscribe, like, share, leave a review, share this with somebody you love, somebody you care about. And I pray that this episode has inspired you and blessed you. And until next time, y'all, this is another episode of Change What We Normalize. I'm out. Peace. Love y'all.